Hey everyone, thanks for clicking in, and welcome to Target Audience 315, where I gather a few cool people and we just talk about movies or a show. No cinema experts, no bought and paid for opinions, just regular people telling you what they thought about a movie or a TV show. Hopefully if you're looking to know a bit more about a show or a movie, this show is helpful, informative, and entertaining. In this episode, we're going to tackle the behemoth release of Avengers Endgame. No worries, there's never any spoilers during the monologue. This film is the culmination of Marvel's decade-long assembly of a cinematic universe that has been so invested in and cared for that it is absolutely no wonder that it has broken records already. 1.2 billion globally in the first weekend. It'll be a long time before that record is broken, if ever. Now, at just over 3 hours long, I could have easily taken 8 to break it down and discuss it at length, but I'm going to try and just let this extended episode speak for itself. It is truly overwhelming, not just how it becomes blindingly apparent that the folks at Marvel Studios had a serious plan this entire time to not only develop a vast array of comic book characters in a natural, exciting way, but that the individual movies themselves played a vital role, right along with the characters, in developing an entire universe. I've been calling this movie Marvel's heartstrings and heart attacks. And again, at 3 hours, it's incredible how it doesn't feel like 3 hours, except for my bladder reminding me. The pacing is great, the story is great, everything is very natural, nothing is forced. It picks up right after the snap in Infinity War. It doesn't let up the entire time. The risk of maybe admitting I missed a detail or 200, this movie is full of Easter eggs. It is truly a love letter to not only the fans, but to Marvel itself. And I think we can agree, we all wish Stan Lee could have been here to see this. And here, in the Endgame, we find his last cameo, and it's another fun one. The action, especially at the end, gonna take your breath away. It'll leave you on your knees, jumping in the air, rocking in a dark corner, and everyone is in this movie, and I mean everyone. You're gonna pull an eye muscle scanning every inch of the screen in a few moments throughout this movie. As usual, Marvel's great at making sure it's still a good standalone movie, mostly, but obviously it makes more sense and it hits all the sweet spots if you've joined in on this ride that Marvel's taken us on over the last 10 years. I'm curious but excited to see where Marvel's gonna take us next, especially with the Fantastic Four and the X-Men finally joining the MCU. We hope, but that's another discussion. Robert Downey Jr. puts out one of his best performances, as well as Steve Evans and Jeremy Renner. The whole cast actually gets opportunities, even after all of these movies, to each put a new spin on their characters we may not have seen or considered before. There's a few surprises and some choices people will be debating about, but I really can't say enough about this movie. It sets a new standard for not just hero movies, but a new standard for franchises as a whole. The planning, the foresight, the cooperation that was put in place, as well as the care and talent poured into creating these devoted adaptations to these beloved characters, as well as the universe it was building around them and in support of them, without missing the details. It is awesome. That's something Fox sorely missed in the X-Men films. The inner kid in me finally got to see some things that I vividly remember imagining after reading a good comic. And seeing it on screen, done with respect and care and sheer cinematic godliness, left me stunned for days. Why I'm drinking. This movie is a celebration of these characters and the journey we've watched them all go on over the course of these last 22 movies. It is so full of emotion and heart that it is difficult to review without getting excited and giving everything away. So I'll just tell you, go see Avengers Endgame. Like right now, go. Stop watching this and go see the movie. No, wait. Watch this first. Click like and subscribe, then go see Avengers Endgame. Spoilers ahead.
Where's Jim?
I have no idea. Pause it.
Let's check it out.
Hey Jim, I know the movie was traumatizing, but we have to do the show now.
Okay.
I have to steal some of your cards.
You can't steal some of my cards.
I didn't write anything.
You should put your own cards. Ready?
Okay.
Here, we're gonna start this now. Don't, that's my tattoo. You hit my tattoo.
Bad.
All right, welcome to Target Audience 315. Today we're going to talk about Avengers Endgame. Okay.
It's very depressing, I know.
Thank you. So as always, Buried Acorn so far is the only person that's given us something to drink. Much appreciated. Thank you guys. And today I'm drinking Saison. That's what I'm going to drink. And my friend Matt here.
Hey.
Will be drinking what we've had on the show before and is very good. The Hot Whip.
IPA.
This is Lila. She's drinking soda.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah, I could drink a few of those.
That's one of the ones I really like. But since I've had that like 2 or 3 times now, I wanted to go with this one.
Yeah.
Saison. Brought to us by, sorry Matt, Buried Acorn. All right. Let's just jump into it and talk about this.
All right, I'm ready.
This is the culmination of Marvel's 22 movie roundup for the Infinity Stone saga. It is not the last movie for Phase 3. Spider-Man will be the last movie for Phase 3. But this does conclude the Infinity Saga, as the Russo brothers have been calling it. And I legitimately needed a day to just kind of process the movie. How did you feel?
I
Lila?
felt very depressed.
I asked Lila to be on the show, and I knew that I would be getting some mixed reactions here, but I felt bad about causing a subtle depression in an 11-year-old girl. You were going to see the movie anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You've seen all the movies up until now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I know we have. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Damn right. I'm going to try not to curse in front of you.
Okay.
So the movie starts off, we open up with Hawkeye. It's with his family. He's on house arrest, as we saw Scott Lang in Ant-Man the Wasp. But for Hawkeye, that's really not much of a punishment. You know, as we saw in Civil War.
That's where he wants to be all the time.
That's where, yeah, exactly.
That's his
We saw
happy
in
place.
Civil War, that's where he wants to be. And in Age of Ultron,
They brought him back to the farm, yeah.
brought him back to the
Right?
farm.
That's a
his
safe house they use. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Totally.
Avengers of Madison County.
Shut up, kid. You're not supposed to be funnier than me on this show.
Totally.
Just remember, we can't promote places that will sue me.
All right.
So Hawkeye's exactly where he wants to be. This is not a punishment for him.
Totally.
You know,
He's
he
pumped.
gets to be home with his family.
Yep.
He's led the life of a soldier, was an Avenger. He's good being home.
Yep.
He's teaching his daughter how to shoot the bow and arrow, which was kind of a reference to Kate Bishop, which is a comic reference to
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
that picks up
Yep.
She
the
became
mantle of
Hawkeye,
Hawkeye.
Yep.
The new Avengers.
Also, I thought it was a reference to Robin Hood Men in Tights. You know what I mean? He's like behind
don't.
her, showing her how to shoot the bow and arrow, right? And then Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, with Kevin Costner in
It's
it.
been such a long time since I've
Yeah,
seen the movies.
yeah. So that's what's up. The great setup for that meeting is, you know, it's taking place right at the end of Infinity War. So they say it's like a 3-week gap or something.
Yeah, we would pick right up from Infinity War.
So what happens is, to me, the thing about because the comic book storyline is pretty dope, and there's a lot of cool stories that I wish they would have told instead, like World War Hulk. I love that.
Well, we got that in Ragnarok.
True, but not
To a
fully. Not where he comes back to Earth and he's like, "Fuck everybody."
Oh yeah, well
I'm
I mean,
pissed.
if they were going to do that, not to get too off the topic of Endgame, but if we were going to do that, then we'd have to start introducing the Illuminati.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and you know the
and
X-Men, a lot of different
They
stuff.
didn't have the rights to
Yeah.
the Fantastic
Yeah,
Four, which means they didn't have right to Reed Richards. And
Yeah.
I think there was still sort of a tenuous agreement with what they could and couldn't do with Hulk.
So I'm cool with that. But the thing that I like though is the way that, because when you think about the greatness of this movie, and I got some problems with it too.
Yeah, I got problems.
But like to do it something at that big of a scale, like this is the failure of Justice League and Superman versus Batman, because they overdid in some areas. Is they did the thing where it's basically a vanishing, like the rapture in the Bible.
Yeah.
Like 1 second they're there, and the next second they're gone.
It's very rapture-like.
So what happens is now you have this apocalyptic biblical type feeling of the movie without beating you over the head with it. Like in Justice League, you know, they come in and he's like, I'm gonna, you know, it's in a way that kind of gets the emotionally thing, because now you're focusing on, if that happened to you in real life, you would be like terrified and upset, but they didn't over explain it, so you just saw his human reaction to it. And I thought that was a great intro to the movie.
I mean, it was a lot like The Leftovers, that TV show,
Totally.
which was fantastic. I love that show. Did you watch The Leftovers? But yeah, it picks up right from Infinity War, not 3 weeks, because we're watching Hawkeye watch his family turn to dust.
You're right. You're totally
So
right.
it's right at the moment.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it was tough, man.
Right? Imagine you're spending time with your family, and you turn around, and your son's gone. And you look back to ask your wife where the kid went, and then she's gone too. And you can see the little trail of the dust where they were. So right then, you knew right off the bat, this entire movie, that's setting you up. It's just going to be heartstrings and heart attacks the whole movie.
Who puts mayonnaise on a hot dog?
Good line. I would try it though.
I would try it. Try anything first. Life is short. Be responsible. Lila's mom is right there. Be responsible.
Hawkeye scene starts, and all of a sudden you get the Flash. 5 years.
Yeah, well,
The time jump.
it's not 5 years yet.
Right.
Because they go back to
Space Farm.
Space Farm. Why is Space Farm?
Because he was like farming, like where he grabbed the weird plant thingy from with
Too
the.
soon. We go to Tony and Nebula
And
floating in
then
outer
it's the
space.
Space Farm.
But we start off with Tony, and he's floating. He's adrift in outer space
Yep.
with Nebula. and they're playing flick football, which was adorable. You finally get to see Nebula have some sort of like positive.
I want to play again when she was excited about it. Yeah, that was cool.
She's always been so hardcore, and it's nice seeing somebody so lighthearted like Tony around Nebula. Not that
Humanizes
Quill
her.
wasn't, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, when she's on the Benatar with
Pat Benatar?
well, that was the ships.
I was just
Peter Quill.
I was trying to work in that joke. It was one of my jokes I had on here to work in Pat Benatar into the equation.
So bad.
Fantastic.
It was bad, huh?
Well, the other one was the Milano,
True.
named after Alyssa Milano.
Totally.
But when they're on the ship there, Nebula has the benefit of other beings from different planets, so that human aspect gets kind of distilled. But when it's just her and Tony, Tony's Tony, who's hyper vocal and
Totally. But they use that. That was a great mechanism in storytelling because, you know, you can make her human by doing other ways where she might like gently touch him or something, and you're like, oh, cool, that's over the top. Because later in the movie, like I love the empowerment, the girl power situation at the end of it, but I feel like you're pandering a little bit that they all magically line up at the same time.
We'll get to that. I loved that shot though.
Okay.
I mean, I really did.
I thought it was well shot. I thought it was a little over the top, but anyways, back to this scene though.
This movie, I mean, that's kind of the thing for this movie. This is
The build up to
This
it.
is the point.
Totally. And I'm with that. And I loved this movie. I really very much enjoyed. But some things were just like, okay, ready? Like, it's like they were going to fight. And they're like, Thanos, yo, hold up. Take get a selfie, take a photo of us real quick and so we can post this on Instagram. Girl power. And then he gives them their phone back and then they fight. You know what I mean?
Well, they did the same shot for Avengers in the beginning of Ultron.
They did.
Where they did that one leap right in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Where they're all just kind of lined up. And that was a cool shot.
Yeah, that one was a little bit better than the shot, I think. You know, but when they had the pan back and they're all coming in and like giants storming through there, that to me is a better.
I mean, we are discussing a part that doesn't happen until the end, the last 45 minutes of a 3-hour movie. But to speak on that point was that they're really making this movie a love letter to not just the fans, but I think to Marvel itself.
Totally, to all the characters, their rich history.
So
I'm with it.
Shots like that are very reminiscent to comic book shots.
Especially covers.
Covers especially, yeah.
Totally.
I mean, you get those team shots where like in action, but they're fanned out like a deck of cards.
Yeah.
All your heroes kind of in action, and it just looked so good.
Yeah, it was a great shot, and I get the reference to the history of it. It was just like, to me, there hasn't been a very huge bad gender bias in the MCU. But it's like they're trying to overcorrect. Like, we think girls are cool too. Let's put all these girls in one shot and make it a girl thing, where I thought you didn't need to do that.
Well, there's something to be said about that. I think Marvel's been pretty fair.
I think they have been too.
Is male-female roles.
Yep.
It definitely, I mean, you can't say it doesn't lean towards male.
It does.
But I think from the beginning, I mean, we started off with Maria Hill, who was Nick Fury's right-hand person.
Right.
You know, then we got Black Widow.
Sure, great character.
Yeah, Pepper Potts. They're always had
Captain
these
Marvel's
very strong
they've done a good
characters, and they've done a great job of kind of introducing more, kind of rounding this out. Captain Marvel, Okoye.
Yeah, Clay's great character.
Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch, great character too. Yeah, you're right.
They've done a very good job of kind of bringing in these other characters.
Yeah.
Which has always been something that Marvel's been very good at. I don't want to say DC isn't good at it. I am a Marvel person, so I might be a little biased, but I think Marvel's always been just a little bit better at it than DC.
I agree. I love DC, but
I'm not knocking Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman's great. I'm looking forward to 1984.
Yeah.
And I really had high hopes for Batfleck because I like the older brooding one, but they ruined that entire thing. Got to go back to zero with that. Marvel's done a great job, though, by not beating you over the head with it, because, you know, they also have addressed some ideas of some racial issues, and they've created the way to create this angst and unity in a situation. Like Black Panther, some people like beat that to death and saying, oh, they overdid it. I thought Black Panther was great, and it wasn't like a Black people are cool too movie, but it was rather, here's this cool story that's been a character for 50 years. Well, exactly. He's not that old, but you know what I mean?
The comics, I thought,
right, but they did a good job of that, right? I really respect how Marvel's handled a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the fact they don't feel the need to pander.
Totally.
They're putting it in without pandering.
And that's why I didn't like the shot at the end with the girls, because I thought that was a little bit pandering. Like, I was like, oh, and then all of a sudden, you know,
but because of the context,
right?
It was kind of more of a acceptable level of pandering,
right?
Which
I totally agree with that.
Which brings us right back to things that shouldn't be in movies but are acceptable here in this case. because this movie does use a good deal of time travel.
Yeah.
If anybody knows how I feel about movies, my number one pet peeve in movies is time travel. I hate time travel. And they solved all their problems with time travel. I hate that. But, and I'm probably allowing it for two reasons. One, because it's a Marvel Avengers movie. Admittedly, it's a little selfish. But the other reason why I'm probably okay with it is because they did take an entire scene to make fun of all the time travel. They made fun of, they brought up
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. They brought up Hot Tub Time Machine.
Which is a great movie.
And they kind of tried to like explain how the time travel worked because everybody's head was hurting trying to think about how they could do this and what was allowed to happen. And that kind of self-awareness, making it a little more lighthearted. They kind of knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
We're doing time travel.
Yeah.
That kind of made it a little better, a little easier pill to swallow.
Did you like the time travel?
Yeah, I thought it was like a good idea to like mention all the other movies that it could like connect to. Like, don't what was it? Like, don't predict like sporting events.
Yeah, that was cool.
Like in
Back
Back
to
to
the
the
Yeah,
Future.
I thought that was cool too. I had two problems with the time travel. One, Loki disappears with the Tesseract, and you don't kind of reconcile that. You can imagine maybe Captain America went back and hooked it up, but that bothers me. The other thing though too is they're setting up their own time rules, because to your point about time travel, you have to establish what the rules are of the universe, right?
Is it linear or do we branch?
Totally. So now you've made your rules. You've established your rules in the beginning, right? So now though...
Which they did when Bruce went to talk to the Ancient One.
Right.
This one does not deal with a linear timeline. It deals with branching timelines.
Right. And the branching timeline to me, which is interesting, is like, so, you know, Tony Stark kills himself at the end, and the beautiful, sweet scenes with him and his daughter and everything is such a cool thing. But are you going to go back in time and adjust this timeline? I mean, you're hanging out with your father, like you're breaking a bunch of rules that may or may not, you know what I mean? Like that. It's a nitpick detail, but I was kind of like, all right.
It seemed like things that happened as a direct result of an Infinity Stone can't be changed. Like they couldn't bring Black Widow back.
Could bring Gamora back.
We could bring Gamora back because in order to gain that stone,
because I thought she was going to come back.
That character,
right?
So if they were, to
they flat out say that with Black Widow.
Yeah,
and I don't like the Red Skull being involved in that situation. Like that dude, like, I mean, you want to shoehorn him back in there. He's a cool character. I love the villain, but you shoehorn him in there, and he's like, okay, I'm going to be this, you know, ethically stoic. You must give up one for the other. This dude's a bad dude. He lied to a bunch of people. Like, would I trust him or not? You know,
I like him being brought.
He looked cool.
He definitely looked cool, and I kind of like the fact that at the end of Captain America, the first Avenger, you saw the Space Stone, the Tesseract, send the Red Skull away, and you're like, okay, well, is he dead?
That is totally true.
This does explain where he
totally
went.
It does. You're right. You know what? I didn't think of it like that. So I'll take back my criticism
putting
on
things
that.
in order.
Totally.
And then he says, like in Infinity War, I bring people to the thing that I cannot possess.
Yep. He's like an usher.
Yep.
He basically guides people to the Soul Stone.
Okay, I can live with it then.
So I mean,
but I don't remember that ever being a play in the comics in terms of.
Well, they've changed a lot from
and I get you gotta shoehorn some stuff in there. Okay.
Yeah. And the changes they make from some of these storylines make sense in these movies.
Yep.
Like originally, the storyline for the Infinity Gauntlet was that Thanos was trying to gain the attention. He did it for a girl. He did it for a girl. See what stupid stuff boys do for girls? You'll know. So he was trying to get the attention of Death. But that doesn't really play out very well in these movies.
Right.
So they kind of made it a little more, I don't even want to say believable or something.
Well,
but I mean, like, they had to come up with a reason why is Thanos looking for this and to bring balance to the universe.
I love that play because,
again, that's a believable plot line.
Totally, man, because like he wants to, you know, believe that we've overpopulated. We were talking earlier, like you think of some characters, like in real life, like people like Osama bin Laden or Hitler. These are awful people, but the worst people that ever lived. But in their mind, they think I'm doing something for the better of everything, right?
Psychotic belief systems that all these terrible things they were doing were based off of.
Totally.
I have to do this in order to get here.
Like Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, you're like, oh, but this dude has a mission in terms of what he's trying to do. So that was a good way to set up that storyline. I believe it. Actually, truthfully, I like that better than the storyline in the comics, though Death is pretty hot, and I get that too.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I think that would have been kind of cool to introduce Death the same way they did Time for Ant-Man. Like, it's real quick, but when when he shrinks down during the first Ant-Man movie, you see that almost in
Yeah.
the time signature outline.
Yep. I thought that was super cool.
But they don't introduce the entity of time.
Right.
Or space, I can't remember what it was, infinity. But yeah, if they did something like that where Thanos snapped his finger and then there's some sort of disruption and you see like this skull in the clouds or something.
That would be cool.
I'm kind of hoping, seeing the Russo brothers also mentioned if they could direct any other Marvel movie, it would be Secret Wars.
Oh, don't get me started.
Which is my favorite storyline in the comic books of all.
Mine too by far, man. But they got to get the X-Men back, and there's a bunch of things that can go into that. But they had a couple of key call-outs to Secret Wars in there. When Hulk is holding up all the, because in Secret Wars he does that, you know?
Yep.
That was cool. Spider-Man's involvement in the situation. You know, but there's a couple things that I got to ask you guys about. So first of all, Thor's bodysuit, like when he's got the big belly, which he basically has like my shaped belly.
Which I'm coining. You've heard it here first. We've had the time of Dad bod. Now we need to usher in the time of Thor bod.
Because he's still got some traps and stuff, but you know, he's been playing some video games, eating some Cheetos. So that part of me was kind of cool, but one thing that always irks me in superhero movies, and they do in this movie too, but they do it with characters like Spider-Man, Batman, like these characters always wear a mask, but I feel like the agents in Hollywood were like, yo, this is Robert Downey Jr. You can't have him be wearing a mask this entire movie. And it's like, come on, you're gonna go into battle, dude? Like in the Game of Thrones, you know.
They did solve that with Iron Man. You're seeing him inside the mask with the hologram control panel around his face. They did solve that issue.
Same with Rhodes.
Yeah, well,
they did with that too, yeah. But Spider-Man has to take off his mask sometimes. It's like, bro, you're not gonna do that, you know? So I don't know. But the Thor bod, some of that stuff was really cool. And
Thor bod.
The Thor bod, hashtag Thor bod. That's a great line. So I mean, that type of reconciling with that stuff, the Thor, Big Lebowski call out, the Thor character, did you like him? He was fat, and like that was awesome. He's drunk the whole time.
Yeah, Thor bod. Fat
it was
Thor's
good.
fun. It's always fun to see Thor being less serious. But the problem, the deal with Thor in that situation was that he literally had the responsibility of an entire planet of people.
That's going to stress you out.
He was responsible for all of Asgard because after Hela destroyed the planet to destroy Hela, to save the people, he's trying to usher them to a new place to live.
Yep.
So he brings them to Earth, and then Thor destroys them.
Yeah.
So he's got the guilt of an entire people being nearly wiped out.
Yeah.
So it's not like I lost my mom or I lost my sister. He has an entire race of people he was responsible for who nearly got wiped out. So that's the guilt, the sense of failure that he's.
I mean, I get that type of guilt when my cat gets out, but we usually get him back in the house. You know what I mean? But I totally. That's a great explanation of his guilt. But they played it off well too. Like where he's drinking, they're like, "Hey, maybe you should have an omelet." And he's like, "I'd prefer a Bloody Mary." Right? Yeah. I have a Bloody Mary. That whole scene, like, you're right. They do that emotional guilt of it great. And he sees his mom, so he gets some reconciliation.
Because you got to imagine.
Like, I would get drunk with Thor, totally. If Thor walked in, he's like, you guys want to wreck some beers? I'm like, yo, Thor bod, have a seat.
Just hanging out, playing some Fortnite with my friends, getting drunk.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good Friday night.
Sign up for that.
I mean, pretzels and crossword puzzles. Forgot you were there for a second. Sorry. Speak up, girl. Let's reel it back. So, everybody's lost somebody at the beginning of this, dealing with the decimation, which is what they're calling the event. But you got to figure it from Steve Rogers' perspective as well. He felt that already once when he woke up out of the ice.
Yeah.
Losing everybody he knows. He's familiar with the sense of loss and failure, and there's no way to get that back.
Yeah, right.
Everybody he knew was gone.
Right.
Which he makes mention of during Civil War, was that when he found out that she was still alive, it made him feel a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure.
Which was cool because actually in Civil War, or Winter Soldier, I'm trying to remember.
Winter Soldier, he found out she was still alive. Peggy, yeah.
Winter Soldier. He visits
And then
her.
in Civil War, she died, yeah.
She recognizes him, Steve, and she says, "Oh, you're back." But she had been remarried.
Yeah.
They never
forgot about
mentioned
that.
the name of the person that she marries. So, I propose, was it Steve?
Good point. It could have been. You're right.
Did you see the wedding ring at the end? That's a good, wow. All right, I'm feeling that. That's cool.
Right?
Okay.
They no mention of it during that previous movie. They tie it up at the end of Endgame with him going back and living the life that he was always told to get.
So let me ask you guys about Captain America in this movie.
But sorry.
No, go ahead.
But the thing about let me talk about my problems with the time travel as well.
Sweet.
So we got the Captain America thing where he goes back to return the stones. Sorry, but I know we skipped an entire movie here. We're talking about the end. But he goes back to return all the stones moments after the point they were pulled so they could solve the problem in the present time. And he stays and lives out his life. Okay. But while he's there having a life with Peggy, there is still a frozen Captain America.
What? You're right. And even his marriage with her, his existence with her, is going to throw off the continuum anyways. But forget about all that. You're right, because now he's still frozen at the same time.
Yeah.
What you said does make sense, like him like marrying Peggy, and then
So then
frozen Cap.
the events of
the
Battle of New York, they would happen still, I'm pretty sure, but with the thawed out Captain America. So Captain America is really watching himself fight the Battle of New York.
Right.
And doing nothing about it.
Totally. And could he resist the urge to do so? But that shows you how much he loves Peggy.
Or
and
if
how,
he trusts himself because he knows how the sequence of events
how it's going to play out, yeah.
The other the problem with
That's
time
a great
travel,
point.
The other problem with time travel, I mean, first of all, Spider-Man is messing up the timeline for MCU to begin with. So Homecoming, they said something like it would have been 8 years since the Battle of New York, which doesn't work well with the timeline.
This. Yeah.
Tony says Thanos has been in his head for 6 years. So they'd made some mistakes there.
Yeah.
But the other problem that we're having here is that at the very end of the movie, the wrap-up, Peter Parker is back in school. He shakes hands with his best friend, Ned. It's been 5 years. What frickin' grade is Ned in?
Oh, totally.
No.
Also,
If
too,
I'm
he's been
missing
gone.
something,
He's been
please put it
gone
in the comment section and let me know what I'm missing. But
if he's been gone for 5 years too, like that would be a pretty big deal. Also, too, this reconciliation of these events, right? Like if there's something like the rapture or the decimation, they're calling, you said decimation happens, right? Shit gets real, right? And now you've recultured society into this crazy thing. Now you have this basically interstellar battle. This crazy shit goes down. Again, and that even in the reconciliation, you're talking about fallout. Thousands of people are going to die in some situation. Things are crashing and stuff, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like a couple weeks later, you're like, oh, dude, it's the prom tonight. Let's hang out. Like it's all of a sudden like so back to normal. So that stuff. But I mean, when you're trying to reconcile this like normal life and realism to it, it's funny how we'll suspend disbelief. Like in Game of Thrones, yeah, I can dragons, but she would never say that to that guy.
Yeah.
So I struggle with that.
Their acceptability.
But to me, though, too, you're bringing up some points with the time travel and like the Captain America character. Like,
I hate time travel.
Yeah, man.
Nobody does it right.
Because
screw it up.
Nobody does it right. You're right.
You're learning. You're learning.
Like any like time travel movie like I've seen, like nobody does it right. Like they always screw it up some way somehow.
That's the problem that I have with movies that are somewhat serious toned. That when they try to take something as outrageous as time travel, they're not thinking it through enough. And they did a fantastic job of trying to kind of think it through, where Bruce Banner's explaining what they can and can't do. And it just always seems to fall flat somewhere. And the Captain America plot hole, the Spider-Man plot hole. I'm sure there's more that I'm not thinking of right now.
Yeah, but you know they did like the Loki Tesseract one, but they did a bunch of things though with the characters that were awesome. It's just to me the most beautiful part of this whole series is how the character development, like the Smart Hulk, which I liked in the comics. I was like, can that
Professor Hulk,
yeah, can Professor Hulk even work in like the movies? And they nailed it. I loved he was my favorite character in the movie.
Yeah.
Captain America is this iconic figure, right? Like Batman and these different characters that are just built on one thing and they're unshakable on it. Like, I mean, Captain America is referencing Guns N' Roses songs. Like, this dude is culturally important. Could he walk away from having to help just to stay in love with this person he loves so much, or does he love her so much? They do a good job with these characters where, like, we're talking about these plot holes and I'm still like, but I love the movie, you know?
These characters be complicated. It lets them to have these complex emotional storylines. You know, with Captain America, with Peggy, and basically everybody that he's ever known, and Tony with his stress, and we saw that in Iron Man 3 with his panic attacks.
Couldn't sleep.
Yeah, and then his family during this one, he's got a daughter. He's finally got the life that he was always kind of avoiding almost. These characters are allowed. Granted, it's been 22 movies, but they're allowed to have these incredible story arcs. You can actually see them develop in a very natural way. Marvel's done such a good job with explaining why the things that have happened.
It's been beautiful. You're
They
right.
didn't force anything into an easily. This is Captain America, and that's all he is, and you're just gonna have to accept that. They don't do that. They kind of show you the character. They show you what he's been through. The only problem I have with Captain America was the first movie. They didn't really show his development as far as how he developed all those tactical skills and fighting skills.
All the training and
He
stuff
was
to go through.
injected, and suddenly he was a super soldier.
Right.
Yeah.
But aside from that, all these characters had such great development
Totally.
throughout 22 movies. But
They had a plan. They stuck to it. They didn't try to rush it or skip parts, and it played out beautifully.
especially Thor. You
Yeah.
think about Thor in the beginning, he was very Asgard
Yeah.
with his language and his behavior.
Militant,
Even
what he wanted to do.
The first Avengers the same way. But as his exposure to human beings increased, his personality changed. He softened. He gained a little bit of a sense of humor, which he wouldn't have seen if he had stayed within that singular culture on Asgard. Kind of learned that from human beings, which is kind of cool because
Super cool.
He falls in love with Earth.
Yep, he totally does. And you know what? They did that better. Like the movie Man of Steel actually isn't terrible in a couple ways. Like Superman's character development, I thought was pretty solid.
Development solid. The character portrayal was a little wooden.
Agreed. But the story, but they did a good embracing it. Like there's something better than Captain America coming out. His mom's watching baseball. He's wearing the Royal shirt. Gets a Budweiser. He's been working in the field. Like that's America, right?
Yeah.
The Thor development's the same thing. Like I didn't feel fake. Like when he looks like the Big Lebowski and they even reference it in the movie, he's drinking beers. I'm like, that's my dude. And it's the same guy that I saw before. So I agree. They developed those guys really great. All of them too.
He's in this downward spiral of depression and self-loathing, and he just doesn't know what to do. So he's just drinking and getting fat. In New Asgard.
And you see him lose his confidence in a way that's not like the cheesy, like, oh, his confidence is gone, but like they're there and he's trying to sneak out to get the wine and everything like that. Yeah. But I believed all of that, you know, like I could buy into that. That's why later on too, and he's like, dude, I'll put the gauntlet on. They're like, bro, we want to set this one out.
Yeah. All right, so let's do a real quick rundown of the movie, and then we'll talk about a few points that kind of went through. So as we started, we talked about Hawkeye with his family, the dusting, which kind of set the tone. Like I said, heartstrings and heart attacks. We get Tony and Nebula in outer space. There was a scene where, in the beginning of the movie, where Nebula finds him on the floor after he sends that heartfelt message back to Pepper through the mask, where she picks him up off the floor, puts a coat on him, and puts him in the flight seat. I'm not really sure why she did that.
So it could be more comfortable, I guess.
I thought that too, but then I thought, was she expecting the
I thought maybe
Captain
she was going to try
Marvel?
to do something.
I thought she was too, and then she didn't. But I think you might be right. It was more like, hey, this guy's going to die. I at least want to put him in a way that, is that what you were thinking, make him more comfortable just on the way out?
That's a sweet way of thinking about it. I never thought about it like that.
I didn't think about that until you...
That's very nice.
Yeah.
And also kind of an emotional point on Nebula's behalf that may have been overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But then you see Tony's face light up, and many people predicted this before the movie came out. It was Captain Marvel that shows up and
that saves them,
flies them back to Earth.
Did you think that was what was going to happen?
Yeah, definitely.
I think everybody did.
Either that or NASA would save them.
Never count on NASA. So anyway, so they get back to the Avengers base, and Tony is withdrawn.
They did a great. He looks super.
So skinny
like,
and sick and
It was
starved
like
out.
Steve in the first Avenger.
Yeah.
It was all scrawny and tiny.
Totally believable.
Skinny Tony and skinny Steve.
Yep. That was good.
But then you get Thor is still at the base because, like you said, this is happening right after, 22, 24 days, whatever, after the snap.
Yep.
He finally gets back to Earth. Thor is still at the base, and he's depressed. He's very despondent.
Yep.
It was like, I should have gone for the head. I should have gone for the head. I should have
gone for the head. Yeah.
Yeah.
He should have gone for the head.
Definitely.
What was he trying to do?
I have no idea.
Come on, Lyle.
I really don't know.
Your generation's got the answers. Everyone's back at the base, and we finally get to see this nice little group shot of the team with Captain Marvel, which was kind of cool.
That was cool. I did like that.
And I don't know. I liked the Captain Marvel movie. I didn't think it was great, but I liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I feel like she's having a hard time meshing with the rest of the team.
Yeah, which is weird because, like, you know, her powers are so infinite and, like, she could crush anybody she wanted to. But Thor has similar situations, and I can totally believe him as part of the team.
Yeah.
So, I'm with you on that thing, you know. I don't know that she's, in the comics, though, she wasn't an original charter member of the Avengers. She's dipped in and out of that group, so maybe it's just because we're comic fans and we're kind of like, I don't really associate her with these guys.
No, I also think Brie Larson's portrayal of Carol Danvers is a little spotty. I said that in our other review for Captain Marvel. Feel free to watch that. Where she kind of goes back and forth from being kind of snarky to almost no personality.
Yeah, I love her as an actress, and I thought the same thing. Like, either go like Steve Rogers, Chris Evans. That's a good job of him, like having a sense of humor, but being a stiff guy, and I can buy both of those.
Yeah, he's rigid, he's structured, but he still has a personality.
Totally, I'm with you on the Captain Marvel thing.
So then, okay, we got Black Widow's got the team, and they're trying to find Thanos, and they've got everybody there. And I did like the fact that Black Widow was kind of taking charge. It wasn't Cap.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was Black Widow who was taking charge.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's kind of taking care of people, but she's taking care of the team.
Yep.
But then they develop a new plan because the world gets another glimmer of hope because of a hungry rat that triggers the van from the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yep.
And
That was a cool setup there.
And
I
Scott
like how they
Lang
did
gets
that.
spat back into the world from the quantum realm, and he comes and finds
The quantum
team.
realm just shat him right out.
And
That's
then,
a good turning
And then with
point.
Scott with like the help billboard, not the billboard, like the cardboard for the security guy.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that was
Scott Lang he's trapped in this holding facility where the van is, and because he got spat back out of the van, he's still in the holding facility and he can't get out, which is weird because couldn't he have just shrank down and got out?
I thought about that too.
But
Yeah.
But they needed to have a good celebrity cameo there,
yep.
which was cool.
Yep. What's his name?
Ken
Jeong.
Yep.
You
Who
might
was
know him
awesome.
from-
His mustache was great from The Hangover and all those things.
Yeah, the Hangover. He's a security guard, and he lets Scott out, and Scott's got a bunch of stuff he takes with him. He goes back to the team at the base, and they develop this plan. They're going to go back in time.
He goes back. He's like, "Yo, I've been in the quantum realm for like 5 years, but it felt like 5 hours."
Exactly.
And they're like, "Oh, cool, dude. Let's do that."
Yeah, so, I mean, and then we get into the time travel stuff, where they start developing this plan about going back in time based off of Scott's experience in the quantum realm, the machinery they have in the van built by Hank Pym, and then they try to develop a further plan because he knows that something can be done through time, but he's not smart enough himself to figure out how to use this equipment to actually travel through time, so they have to go find somebody smart enough to do this. Bringing us to 5 years later, Tony Stark, who's actually been married to Pepper Potts, has a daughter, and they do a nice little scene with the daughter and him, and he's got the helmet
Yep.
of what we'll later find out is the rescue helmet. Rescue is the name of the armor that Pepper Potts wears, and the daughter's wearing just the helmet, which is kind of adorable. I like
Oh, the daughter really.
every scene with Tony and his daughter is
Dude,
gold.
it was amazing. I could watch it. They should make a sitcom of Tony and his daughter. Like, I would totally watch that.
Yeah, like a
The Pepper Potts rescue armor later on, though, too, like, and I know that there's variations of that in the comics and stuff. It's like, all right, I can get Colonel Rhodes, like, Rhodey, the dude's a fighter pilot, right? Like, he's going to be able to learn how to do
But
this.
how did Pepper learn how to use not just the
Yeah.
armor, but how to fight?
Yeah, totally. Right, exactly.
Which you could attribute to the armor fighting for her, because Tony, at one point at the end of Civil War, has the armor learn the moves that Captain America's making.
True.
And then tells the armor, let's kick his ass.
Yeah, for sure. It's
So
possible. But
that
I mean,
armor might just
you
kind of be
know.
on the auto fight.
Yeah.
Auto fight? Sound good?
Yeah.
So what do you call her character then?
Rescue.
Is it Rescue?
Yeah. That's what it was in the comics.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. That's kind of badass.
So we got them, they're trying to develop some sort of plan to go back in time. And Tony's like, yeah, man, I'm not doing this. He's got a life, and despite the world ending, he's actually borderline happy. He's found some sort of peace.
Pretty selfish for a hero.
It is, but I mean, that's kind of his
who he is.
character. You know, he kind of reverts back to the original Tony Stark, where he didn't really care much about anybody else but himself.
Yep.
And they have that conversation in the first Avengers, where Steve is telling him he's not the one to make the sacrifice. He's not the one to lay on the wire and let his friends crawl over.
Totally.
Tony's like, I would just cut the wire.
Yeah.
But we all know that's not true, because
Right, 'cause he-
Tony carried the nuclear bomb, which he liked to brag about, through the wormhole, but we've seen him sacrifice himself.
Totally. At the end, yeah. That was honestly for me a big surprise at the end of the movie. I thought it was really like you knew someone's got to die. We knew that. Like the Black Widow was a surprise to me. I thought for sure you'd kill off Hawkeye because while the actor is really good, Jim Renner's a good actor. The character's like but they did a good job with it where he just goes crazy as a vigilante. And you're right. That's a great story arc for Iron Man. And Tony Stark.
Backtrack a bit. Hawkeye going on this murderous rampage with criminals. He's lost his family. He's got nobody.
Ronin phase.
He becomes Ronin. Yeah, I think he doesn't want to go back to the Avengers because he wants to do his vigilante mission.
Killing cartels,
he
the
just wants to
Yakuza.
lash out at the world.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to lash out at innocent people, so he's going to lash out at what he knows, and that's how to find bad people. And he knew if he went to the Avengers, he would be steered away from that, and he wouldn't be able to scream out at the world in the way that he did.
Your point too about the Ronin phase, they worked that in perfectly without having to make it totally over the top. Like when he's got the double hood on and everything like that, I was like, oh, that's cool. They worked this in there, in a good way. I like that.
A good job with that.
Yeah, they did.
I was pretty happy with that. So then we get everybody together, and Tony says, "Get out of here." So they go to Bruce, and now he's Professor Hulk. He's figured out that he can't treat the Hulk like a virus. He's got to figure out a way to work together with the Hulk. So that's what he does, and he is always the Hulk, but he's super smart mentality with the Hulk physicality.
And he's gotten rid of the guilt, so now he's more fun, like taking the selfie with the kids.
Taking selfies with
He's
kids.
got some. He seems like a cool guy. I'm like, you know what? Get me a case of beer, give me Thorbod and Hulk, and I'm gonna chill, dude.
Right?
That's a good time. Yeah.
They're friends, man.
Yeah,
I
they're
know
cool.
them.
Me too. They should be the guests on your next show.
I would love that. So then they get Bruce to kind of work on it, and he's kind of telling them the problems with time travel, and but they work on it anyway, and they come up with a device that actually kind of works. It kind of does a little callback to the Ant-Man where he's a little boy, but they do that a couple times. I like that little bit. The whole movie's got a couple little bits like this.
Oh yeah.
The movie is very self-aware without being a parody of itself.
Totally.
Ragnarok was borderline a parody of Hulk.
It was.
Almost borderline a parody of Thor movie.
I agree.
But this did a good job of being self-aware.
The old Ant-Man helmet in the background. There's all these small things. It was like
Easter egg.
Yeah.
Just full of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And I want to go see the movie 4 or 5 times.
Me too.
It's 3 hours though. I'm gonna have to invest in some diapers.
You know what? I'm cool. I'm cool.
Because I had to.
I did too.
Right before the big battle, I'm like, I can hold it out just a little bit longer.
And you guaranteed me that there was no post-credit scene.
There's no post-credit
And I got up and I'm like, is he messing with me right now? Because
there is the sound at the end.
Yeah.
Right.
The clanking at the end of the movie. There is no post-credit scene, but if you stick around to the end, there is a callback to the original Iron Man where
he was building the suit.
Yeah.
He's hammering the suit. You can hear the metal. That may have been just a kind of
bring it full
nod.
Tribute.
Yeah, like a tribute to Robert Downey Jr.
Great
and Iron Man. Yeah.
Because it's got
Especially because the end of the movie when he says, "I am Iron Man."
Yeah.
I love that. I mean,
me too.
Okay. We're gonna stop talking about the movie for a second. How many times did you cry in the movie?
About 4.
4 times. How many times did you cry?
3.
Okay. Now I was watery.
Almost 4.
I was watery 2 or 3 times, but the only time that tears actually filled my eyes, because I was trying to stonewall emotion the whole time. The only time I really welled up was during the battle scene, and everybody popped through those portals.
Yeah. I got teary-eyed at that point too.
Steve looks out and he goes, "Avengers, assemble."
Yeah.
Like, that was the line I've been waiting for him to say the entire run of these MCU movies.
Totally.
And he finally says it, and I almost just melted in my chair. He said it. He said it.
Yeah.
And just seeing that lineup of characters in this epic battle, and I don't use words like epic, but this can only be described as an epic battle.
It was literally epic, and I know how to use the word literally correctly. But I'm with you totally on that, yeah.
So we go back to the time travel. They figure out their team, and so I like how they have these little teams. So the plan is to go back into different points of time and collect stones, bring them back to the present, and use them to bring everybody back and defeat Thanos. But the little buddies, like he had Nebula and War Machine, they go to Morag to gather the stone, which was fun because you got to see the opening sequence of Guardians of the Galaxy where Peter Quill's dancing across the...
Yeah, I love that. Like,
you see
I
it
was
from a
like,
different perspective.
what? Totally. Like, yeah, he's an idiot. Like, I love that.
Because they turn the music off because he's got headphones on the entire time. He's just like, singing out loud, basically me in the shower. And it was just fun to see that. So they grab that.
Yep.
And then we get the dissonance from past Nebula and present Nebula being in the same spot. So Thanos was able to kind of pull the memories from future Nebula, from past Nebula, and this is why I hate time travel.
But that was a cool plot device, though. They used it in a way that made it kind of relevant, though. Because I was like, oh, man, here's going to be a little Band-Aid. And it was a plot Band-Aid.
Yeah. But
it was serviceable, you know. Yeah. But with Nebula, though, that whole part of that, like her relationship with her sister, they reconciled that super quick. And that bothers me. Well, I thought the Gamora-Nebula reconciliation was more rushed than it could have been.
It was, but they already have a history together.
True.
They're already sisters.
True.
It's just
they hate each other. I mean, they try to kill each other a bunch of times. And then she's like, yo, I tried to kill you, but don't worry, we're cool, bro.
I think it's just the fact that Nebula explained something that Gamora knew to be true.
Right. In her heart, she knew to be true.
She knew that Nebula's not the kind of person to be telling a stupid lie like this.
Agreed.
You know, it's such a far-fetched lie, and Nebula being very...
And the past Nebula versus the future Nebula, that was cool too, because the younger Nebula is totally committed to the cause because she believes it.
Yep.
She hasn't been jaded yet. I think it's the other one. And that was a good, like, usually when Captain Kirk fights evil Captain Kirk, you're kind of like, all right, dude. Yeah. Like the Captain America battle was cool, but the Nebula thing was kind of neat because you saw that.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah, staying on the Nebula thing, everybody was like, Thanos is going to find out, Thanos is going to find out, Thanos is going to find out, Thanos is going to find out. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Exactly. And then he finds out. He knows that he figures out the plan.
Totally.
Then you got Black Widow and Hawkeye. They're going to Vormir to get the Soul Stone, which they should have known that there was a price to pay.
Right.
But if you think through, like,
because Nebula should have known that, though.
There's no way for them to know.
But Nebula should have known. Nebula should have known, so she could have been like, "Look, here's the deal." That was the other plot hole, because she figured out on Titan, so she could be like, "Yo, hold on a second, before you go, like." Grab somebody from jail or somebody, bring them with them because you got to trade a person in to get this stone.
You have to sacrifice something you love.
Either way, they still shoot. You're right.
Like bring a stuffed animal.
Yeah. Right. Or maybe this beer because I'm starting to love this too right now.
Right. Sorry, Matt. Buried Acorn. I'm gonna put that on top of your face.
Yeah.
And then you got Bruce Banner and Captain America and Iron Man going back to New York so that Bruce can talk to the Ancient One during the Battle of New York, and then Steve and Iron Man can go and collect the stone. I liked that each one had this kind of complicated part to play. Bruce is going to talk to the Ancient One. Because there was a lot of people asking, okay, where were all these wizards during the Battle of New York? Yeah. We kind of got that question answered. Yep. They were there. They were doing their part.
Yep. I love the whole, that whole scene was reconciled. Did you like it?
Yeah. They just didn't want to, like...
Exactly.
Make themselves known.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what they did in the Doctor Strange movie, was they did these battles, but they were hidden from the regular people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kind of explained that very, very well.
Yeah.
And then you had Steve and Iron Man trying to collect the Tesseract and the scepter.
That becomes an issue though. Like that's not a plot hole too, because Loki, I like it. He's a cool character because he likes to play jokes and he's a trickster. So he takes it, disappears. At first I like that because I'm like, oh, my man would totally do that. Yep. But then like he wouldn't just be like, I'm out. Like he's gonna come back and like, I'm gonna fuck with everybody right now.
Yeah, so what happens is that they get down and it shows all the events happening right after they capture Loki. And they've got the Tesseract in the suitcase, remember from the first Avengers, and you got the scepter. And so when they get to the bottom floor, they're trying to get the case out, but they've got Loki and the team in front of Robert Redford's character, which is great.
Alexander
Pierce.
Yep.
Nice. And so they're being confronted by this little situation.
I've watched Winter Soldier like 70 times.
It's a great movie.
I know.
That's Winter Soldier is such a fantastic movie.
It is.
So they're dealing with that situation, and then you see another effect of time travel is something gets screwed up.
Yeah.
Where something has to get screwed up. If you're going to do a time travel storyline, something's got to get screwed up, and that's what happens. Is that Ant-Man is with them too, and they're trying to cause a heart attack in Tony to get a distraction so they can get the suitcase away, and then during the commotion, Loki grabs the case and he uses the Space Stone to vanish away.
Yep.
While Cap is
Fighting Cap.
Cap ends up getting into a fight with himself. I love the comment when he sees.
I can do this all day. I know.
Yeah, I love that too. The elevator scene
call
was
back
cool.
to his catchphrase, but not just that, but when they mentioned, America's ass.
Yeah.
Talking about how that first costume that he had in the first Avengers, which I agree was kind of weak.
Yeah.
That it did nothing for his ass. That was America's ass, and he gets him knocked out and he's on the ground. He looks down and he goes, "That is America's ass."
They never did the
I have to say, Chris Evans, that is America's ass.
The helmet, I think they missed through all the movies. They just did a good job with Captain America's helmet. But that scene though too was cool. The elevator scene, like, it was a good callback to the previous movies too. I thought that was really, really well done. Like the Captain America and Tony Stark double jump when they go back to like the 70s.
Because they screw up.
Right.
And so they have to go back to a previous time where they can get the stone.
So how does that time travel, to your point about time travel laws, right? You can jump, then jump again?
Sure.
Like, I guess it makes sense in that regard. But
they have to go back to a place where there's the Pym particle and
right.
the Tesseract, which makes sense because then they have to go back to the fort.
The 70s.
Yeah.
The 70s, yeah.
Where Stanley made his very last
Not the
cameo.
70s, the 40s, where they get to see Howard Stark.
Oh, yeah.
And
you're right.
Where Captain America is being made.
Yep.
And I love that little scene because everybody got to have a moment with their lost loves.
Yeah.
Tony got to share a moment with Dad.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
So
Peggy through the window
Cap
was cool.
Watching Peggy through the window.
Yeah.
That was just so sweet.
Yeah. I got a little teary-eyed with that a little bit.
Not so much the Peggy thing.
No, it was more the Tony conversation.
But Tony having those moments with his father.
Yeah, that was great.
Like if anybody's lost a family member, getting to have a moment with that family member again. Like I said, this whole movie is just heartstrings and heart attacks.
I don't discount the Peggy thing only because of one thing, though. Because at one point he's in there, Captain America always sticks to the plan, which are the two surprises in him. Number one, the end story where he just decides to live it out. But when he's back there too, it foreshadows that because he doesn't go and interact with her, but he sees her, and it was really well acted by Evans because he's sitting there looking at it you see your wife or you see your girlfriend walk out and you really love this person, or your daughter, or your friend, and you see them, and we had those moments sometimes like, that's my guy, and I thought they did a good job with that without overpowering it. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
We've had such a Peggy storyline between the first Avenger, and then we get it again in Civil War. We're always getting a call back to Peggy. I think harping on it too much more.
Yep. Would
be a little much. We even had a little short-lived series with Agent Carter.
Right.
I think it was just. I think we've had enough of Peggy.
I think so too. But that was a good dosage of it. I wasn't upset with it.
Yes.
Because 3 hours, I was like, man, this is a long movie, and I enjoyed all 3 hours of it. But I keep going back to him like, did they need this? Did they need that? Did they need that? And all of that. There's not one part where I'm like, that's got to go.
Yeah.
They used the 3 hours wisely.
They really did. I heard some people saying that they liked Infinity War better than this one. I do enjoy the fact that Marvel is more concerned about creating a good movie with an acceptable sequence of events. This is how the character would go.
Yeah, I agree with that.
They don't force a character in any particular direction. So after the events of Infinity War, this is what would happen. It would have been easy to have them just do this weird fight scene. We're going back to fight him.
Totally.
But they didn't. They developed the story.
Yeah,
what would these characters actually do?
That's a great point.
And again,
right in the feels.
With spending time with people that you've lost. Thor, when him and Rocket go to Asgard to retrieve the reality stone.
Oh, yeah.
He sees his mother
It's a great scene. He talks. That was great.
He basically abandons his mission to just hang out with his mom. And granted, he accidentally ran into her, but you're not going to fool Thor's mom. So, just having him spend that time with his mom, Thor got to spend his time with his mom, and Tony got to spend time with his dad, and Cap got to see Peggy again. It was just all this callbacks to the motivating factors for these characters, these huge moments that changed them. You know, losing his mom was a big deal.
Oh man.
Losing his father and never having to reconcile their relationship was a big deal for Tony. Losing Peggy, I mean, basically when he lost Peggy, he lost his entire life. These are huge motivating factors to have these people go back in time and confront those factors and then just kind of go back to the mission. It says a lot about the heroes, but it was nice seeing them have that moment.
Yeah.
You know, this movie didn't waste time by forcing it to do something else.
Totally.
And I really liked that. The Hawkeye and Black Widow moment where they're trying to fight to see who sacrifices themselves.
Yeah, that was a cool scene.
That was great. And I really thought that Hawkeye was going to be the one to give himself up. But
I was sure of it. I was
so
like,
was
all
I.
right, he's
So
gone,
was I.
dude.
I was so sure of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, but
Redemption from the Ronin scene to that, I was like, okay, man. And I was cool that I wasn't upset that I already predicted it. And then that was a good curveball to get in the story.
I loved that twist because I
Yeah.
was so sure of it. And then when she's hanging there, it's okay. Just let
Yeah.
it go.
Yep.
Again, heartstrings.
Yeah.
It's just, guys.
And then later when he comes back and he's looking at his phone and his wife calls, like, and that's right when like they get attacked and everything like that. Though that scene is pretty cool too because I was like, why'd you save? I mean, I got it. It was cool. But I'm like,
we're fast
why are you
forwarding.
saving him? And then all of a sudden I'm sorry. Then he got there and I was just like, okay, dude, that's cool.
Yeah, that was nice when they get towards the end and they've got all the stones and he does the snap. And they're not sure if everything came back, and they open up the doors again and you see birds. And I think birds was the first first indication.
It was birds and then it was Laura.
Because it was all life. It wasn't just people.
Right.
Yeah. The Inklings.
Yeah. So I think that was kind of cool that they saw the birds. And then the phone rings.
It was Laura.
You're zooming in on it. Because I wasn't sure whose phone that was.
I wasn't either.
It was Scott's. No.
No,
Clint's.
It was
Clint's, yeah.
That's what I mean. I wasn't sure whose phone it was. So then when you panned over to the phone, you see that it was Laura. Like, it worked. And for him, the first person that we get back, that we know we get back, is the first set of people we see lose in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So it kind of brings it right back, and Clint sees that his wife is back. That was really nice.
Yeah, it was really nice.
But then, of course, you know, Thanos has figured out how to do time travel from the memories of the quantum dissonant evil Nebula from the past. So he shows up, and that's when we get this 45-minute epic battle.
And he brings his peeps, man. Thanos came to win, you know?
What we imagined was going to happen during the first Avengers in the Battle of New York, this is what we were afraid of for that battle.
Totally.
Yeah.
The things that were supposed to happen start to happen. We get all of these armies and more of those floating slug things. And
That they ripped off from Transformers.
they ripped off from Transformers. Yeah, I didn't watch any of those movies because they're awful. All right, so let's talk about the end of this movie because this epic battle was so amazing. I imagine that when I get the DVD, I'm going to watch this battle. Like, I'm going to fast forward to the battle and just watch that like 300 times.
Just like nitpick it, like, oh, this happened, and this happened.
I'm going to...
Me too.
Like, look at this.
I'll pause. I'm like, oh, I didn't see it because you mentioned Easter eggs. There's got to be there'll be things there. I'm like, oh, and then I saw a different character, and then like a different line. I'm like, oh my gosh! And then I started to like fanboy out. Like, I wonder if we're gonna see this person or this person. Then all of a sudden you saw them. So I bet you if you go back and look at it and you keep pausing, like, oh, I didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, just...
I heard there was like 209 Easter eggs or something like that.
209. Wow.
Like the entire movie. Most
I
of it was
believe that.
most of it was probably from the battle.
I totally
Probably,
believe it. But yeah, you're right. You're right.
There's
You're right.
so much jam-packed
Yeah.
on the screen during that battle. It's just hard to pinpoint everything. I just loved the battle with, you get the original Captain America, Thor, Iron Man. They're fighting Thanos. And just that fight, each one of them gets their opportunity to kick his ass.
Yeah.
They're getting to kind of work out, I finally have my chance with him.
Yep.
And they're going at it. But nothing will be, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Nothing's going to beat the fight when Thor is on his back and he's got Stormbreaker at his chest.
Oh.
And
Yes.
earlier in the movie, he missed his hammer so much. He's got Stormbreaker, but he stole Mjolnir from the past so he can have both.
Yeah, when he went with
And
Rocket.
in this scene, while he's at the battle and Thor's got Thanos on top of him, he's pushing Stormbreaker into his chest, and he's afraid. He's watching.
And you see it start to split his chest.
See it start to go into through his armor. Captain America throws that hammer, and you get to see the most epic fight with Cap using Mjolnir and his shield together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might cry right now just thinking about it. It was so good.
It was.
It was so good.
And he's really been paying attention to how Thor uses that hammer because he really had some moves on there. Some of those 1-2 punches.
And when he's swinging as he's walking up.
And the shield at the same time. Throwing the lightning up. So not only is he throwing and wielding the hammer, but he's using its electricity powers too.
Yep.
It was just cool seeing Thor look up and go, "I knew you were worthy."
Yeah, and with like Steve in Age of Ultron when they had like the competition to see who could like lift Thor's hammer.
Yeah.
What I was thinking was when Steve got the Mjolnir and like he was able to grab it. I was thinking that he was like worthy now because he told Tony that Bucky killed his parents.
Yeah, his slate is clean.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Great point. I didn't think of that. And Thor also too, and he's like, "You give me the big one." When he makes the switch, with that was cool too.
Yeah, just
you get
their
the
relationship
one.
back and forth.
Yeah,
kind of reminds me of Infinity War. And it's like, I see you copied my beer, the haircut, like that little back and forth. And now they're back in the second fight, and he's like, he's got Stormbreaker. It's like, no, you get the little one. So Captain America gets the Mjolnir. Their relationship together is so great.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's just such a great relationship, those two. But that fight, Captain America wielding the hammer, everybody shows up and we have this epic battle. All the heroes line up, and then Tony sacrifices himself, and we really get the dramatic ending where, because Tony's used the gauntlet, he can't survive the power, and he dies. And Pepper in the rescue suit comes over and kisses him goodbye. And
you get to rest now.
Now he gets to rest.
It was so amazing. It was so great seeing this farewell, this history of these movies, and you're literally saying kind of goodbye to a franchise almost. I mean, it's going to continue, but this thing that they built.
I mean, it is goodbye to those characters.
Like really, like the original.
Yeah, but
the one that started it all.
Totally.
And at the end, or the funeral, all these characters, you're seeing everybody there. Yeah. Everybody is there. You've got Hank Pym, you've got Janet Van Dyne, and there might be a little confusion. There's a kid they kind of hold on a little bit. They're going through. You don't know who it is. That's Harley from Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
So
I didn't realize that.
Clears that up.
That does clear that up. The Hulk's custom 3-piece suit. It's pretty cool too.
It just reminds me of like every funeral scene you've seen in a comic book where all the heroes are in normal clothes, but like they're 8 feet tall and green, just wearing a 3-piece suit.
Yep.
Remind me of those.
Yeah.
And it was just a very good goodbye. And then you get the hologram Tony.
That was cool too.
Pepper.
Which I read that, okay, maybe this is kind of a way to keep Tony around.
Yep.
Where he develops this AI version of Tony Stark.
I really hope that doesn't happen. It's like bringing Jason Todd back in the comics. Don't do that to me.
I don't want that to happen either because that kind of cheapens the way he dies.
Yeah. Agreed.
I mean, if he's going to be dead, let him be dead. If you're going to bring him back, bring him back.
It's like, oh, I cried for absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Great point.
Nobody makes me cry for nothing. But it would be kind of cool for them to carry on the storyline of the Avengers afterwards by having some sort of event where, like the Collector and the Grandmaster, who are these
side characters,
they're like celestial characters, like Ego was. Have them kind of bring people back from the dead, because there was a storyline in the comics where each hero had to fight somebody that was important to them from the past that had died, where Captain America had to fight Bucky Barnes. In that storyline, Bucky had actually died.
I mean, you could do Secret Wars though and bring some of these characters back, and that would allow your extra universes too.
That would be a cool detail if they did do a Secret Wars, which the Russo brothers, like I said that they would love to come back and do a Secret Wars series. That would be cool. I would love to have 3 movies, Secret Wars trilogy.
And I want
do it, Russo brothers. Do it for us.
And bring back Spider-Man's black costume.
We got to tell that story correctly. All right, we're gonna wrap this up. This was a great discussion. I just love talking about this, and we can probably talk about this epic movie for another 4 hours.
Totally.
Thank you, Lila. Thank you for coming in and keeping me in check. I didn't swear or say dirty stuff. Thank you for keeping me in line. Sir?
Really enjoyed
you
it.
for coming
Great
on.
meeting you too, Lila. I might have cursed a couple times, but you can always post-edit that out.
Thank you, Buried Acorn, of course.
Yeah. Great beer.
Go see Avengers Endgame.